People who need help with matters that can't be explained come to me. These hauntings can be terrifying things. I should know. I've faced many evils in my life.
Hi, welcome to What the Flick. Happy New Year. It's a brand new year. That means terrible new movies.
But shocker.
A January horror movie that they showed us in advance.
Yeah, wait, we should just say who we are first.
That's kind of
New Year, same us.
Kind of a Christmas miracle.
Yes.
I'm Christy Lemire.
I'm Matt Atchity.
That's Ben Mankiewicz.
Yes.
We don't know where Alonso is.
I'm the perpetually late Ben Mankiewicz.
It's very confusing.
So yes, Insidious, The Last Key, the fourth, for those of you keeping up at home, of the Insidious movies, which have become, along the way, just sort of a showcase for Lin Shaye, and I'm okay with that. She returns as Elise, who has the ability to see the dead, to talk to the dead, to cross over into a sort of purgatory that she calls The Further. And this is another prequel to the first Insidious, where Elise has to return to her childhood home and deal with some unfinished business. Take a look.
I don't have memories from this place. I have scars. I am gonna find it and I'm gonna finish it.
Elise, there's someone right in front of you. I don't see anything. Be careful. You're going to touch it.
This is sort of like the Rogue One of the Insidious series, in that the end of this movie catches you up to the begining of the first movie.
Yeah, they have now
chronologically.
They have officially lapped themselves.
So in theory, this is the last one. When they say it's the last key, maybe others might have the shine.
Listen, we got what? 6, 7, 8 final destination movies?
Come on already.
You know, because this movie, this series rather, has jumped back and forth in time so much, I could see where
like Doctor Who.
Well, they could pull off this not being the last one if they don't want it to be the last one. Right. But if it were the last one, you know, I would be okay with that. Although I have overall enjoyed this franchise. This is maybe I would say this is my least favorite of the franchise, but I still like it.
This is well, no, I think the second one was my least favorite of the franchise.
Really?
And I love the third. The second one felt like a bit of a retread of the first. And then the third was like wall-to-wall Lin Shaye, and that was awesome. You know, but this is somewhere in the middle for me. So Leigh Whannell has written all of them. This was directed by Adam Robitel. I don't know who that is.
He's made a couple of low-budget horror films. This is sort of his first big movie.
Yeah, and you know, it's got a lot of decent shocks to it, but it's also got some really shockingly poignant material and startling emotional material in the beginning as they flesh out Elise's story and where she comes from and how she got this power. A lot of it, once you get into The Further and all that, is kind of the same imagery we have seen quite a bit and the same ideas we've seen quite a bit, but it is still tense and it's well made always.
I think if there's a thing that I found a little disappointing is that while the movie sets up a lot of ideas about how you don't have to go to other dimensions to find monsters, that human beings are capable of terrible things, then ultimately much of the movie is sort of devoted to finding out, well, it's not really the humans' fault for being so terrible, you know, and that felt a little cop-outy to me.
I see. Okay, not to give any spoilers away, but there are forces at work here, which we knew.
I like this. I hadn't seen any of the Insidious movies. I had missed them previously.
How is that possible? We've done them all. Go back and watch our What the Flick reviews. To
maybe I will. Or maybe I have seen 1 or 2 of them, but can't really remember. I like this one. It had a lot of scares. I was definitely like kind of hiding and getting tense, and it really worked. And going into this, having not really remembered anything, it's okay.
I was gonna say, were you confused at all about who they were?
Not really. No, it gave me everything that I was able to follow along just fine. It did lead me with some questions, not the least of which is The Further anywhere near the Upside Down? Is it like adjacent? Is it a similar neighborhood?
What's the one from Get Out?
The upside down.
No. That's Stranger Things.
That's the sunken place.
The sunken place.
Yes.
Right.
So are we going to map out like the bad neighborhoods of modern 21st century?
I put a hotel in the upside down.
Exactly.
You owe me $2,000.
Is it an upside down hotel?
It is. This is a PG-13 horror movie, which kind of comes with its own sort of set of caveats. But I will say, as jump scares go, there's one scene that they're smart enough to know that that anytime anything remotely scary is going to happen, it's going to be a jump scare. Mm-hmm. And there's one sequence here where they know it's coming and you know it's coming and they make you wait for it.
Yeah.
And it's just
it still gets you.
And it's just like, oh shit. And then when it finally happens, it's really effective.
Yeah, they play with us a little bit, and not like in a Scream kind of parody way. They're still very true to what they're doing here. But yeah, that was a good moment there.
Yeah, I like that you kind of. The horror of this movie and a lot of the scares really are related to Lin Shaye's, to Elise's history.
Yeah.
And it made it have an emotional impact that I think is oftentimes maybe missing from a lot of horror movies where it's just about survival. And this really...
She has been consistently great in this series. Like the first movie is technically about Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne and their family, but Lin Shaye kind of comes sweeping in sort of like Tangina in Poltergeist, with the two sidekicks who, one of them is played by Leigh Whannell, who's written all these films.
And Angus Sampson, who's the other one.
Yes.
And they're both kind of fun comic relief in these movies.
And so they're kind of these sort of interesting scene stealers. And then in 2, like Byrne and Wilson are back, but there's a little more for Elise to do. And then 3 and 4 are just all Elise all the time. And that's exciting because she's so good and does not always get her due from movies. And
we think of her so much from comedy, right? With the Fairley Brothers
exactly.
films,
There's
like
something
Kingpin,
about Mary, and she was the landlady, and there's something about Mary which she was an indelible image. But
the landlady in Kingpin, isn't she?
Oh, I think
isn't she also?
Yeah.
She does.
She was
a thing I'm not going to do because you guys will make a meme out of it.
But April Wolf, our friend, formerly of the LA Weekly, does a new podcast called Switchblade Sisters, and it's all about women and genre films. And I've been hearing a lot of discussion of late, and horror is not one of my things that I pay a lot of attention to necessarily, but a lot of people talk about how it's a genre where women consistently get to be active and get to be interesting and have dialogue and be get things to do, as opposed to a lot of genres where they don't. And her character, for a woman of a certain age, really gets a lot of real estate in these movies, and she is capable of things. She is called upon to do things. We learn more about her, and so it's been interesting to kind of go on this journey with this character and this actress over these films.
Yeah, and she's always the smartest person in the room. I mean, she has Specs and Tucker, her sidekicks, her wacky sidekicks, and they maybe lean on those guys a little bit too much, but. And she needs them from a technical perspective, maybe, but she's the one driving the ship. Like, she's the one who understands what's going on, and when everyone else is scared, she's not. And even when she's scared, it's okay. Yeah.
Right, but she's the brave one, right? Like, she's the one who actually does stuff. Like,
climbs into places.
There's a great moment where it's like, you think, oh, is one of them going to step in? Oh, no, I guess not. Like,
they very graciously like, no, you go.
Yeah.
And we have other women who are, the kind of beautiful and in danger, but there's a little more to them too. Caitlin Gerard and Spencer Locke. They have key roles to play in this woman's journey and purging this house of this demon.
Right. And Bruce Davison, a terrific actor, he pops up and also has his own genre roots. If you remember Willard in the early '70s, but he's a terrific actor. And when he showed up, I was like, okay, yes, these movies actually do bother to pay attention to things like character and give. And they'll have stuff for actors to do. It's not just Yeah,
and the sound design is always really good in them. I remember that when I wrote a review of the first one, I thought this is a horror movie you could watch with your eyes closed and still know what's happening because it's so vivid and so distinct from one room to the next. And it's not just like. It's not just like the squeak of a door or footsteps on hardwood floors. Like, they really take the time to have a wide variety of sounds that make this house truly frightening.
Although, on the sound thing, I will say, if you're a fan of the franchise, you may be a little disappointed. They do not do the 100 violins under the opening title. which has sort of been the standard up till now. They kind of throw that out. I was like, really? Insidious? We're getting rid of your trademark opening sting? Okay, fine.
Now you're understated.
now you're going to be insidious.
Yeah, so it's surprisingly good for a January horror film. And you know what? And like weeks and weeks ago, they set the screening up for us. Like they felt good about it.
They were not ashamed to have us see the thing.
And so we did. And so what are our numbers? I'm saying 7. It's solid.
Yeah,
not the best.
7. I think it's good work.
I don't know why you guys hated it. I liked it a lot more, 7.5.
All right, so our numbers, because you hadn't seen the other ones. See the other ones and come back to us. So our numbers are 7.2. All right, you guys, it's at 21% on the tomato meter. That makes absolutely
It's not my fault.
Come on, everybody.
It's not my fault.
Guys, I know it's January and we're all walking in with like low expectations, but let's be decent. This is better than 21%. This is a time where I will say to you, ignore the tomato meter.
For your consideration, Insidious the last key.
Bye.
It's okay to say that now.
Bye.